Welcome to You Care, You Share. Jesus said in Matthew 24:4, "Take heed that no man deceive you." And those words are as relevant for us today as when he spoke them. And we don't really hear in the news media, we don't really hear about all the wonderful works of God, do we? Or evidences when they find in archaeological digs. They find evidence that proves the accuracy of the Bible. So we don't necessarily hear those things. And I want to talk about a few of those things today, evidences that verify the accuracy of the Bible. So the first one is about ancient Sodom and Gomorrah. And there was a guy, a doctor, Dr. Stephen Collins, that was touring in a bus around the southern part of the Dead Sea, and he found a couple of sites that hadn't been excavated. They ended up excavating those sites, and what they found was layers of soot, 4,000-year-old soot, and they could tell how old it was because beneath the soot there was tiny bits of melted bricks, melted pottery, and they were glazed. And glazing hadn't been invented back then when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by fire and brimstone. So in order to get something glazed, it has to be heated between 5,000 to 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 2 seconds. So that couldn't have happened back then without some miraculous circumstances causing it. And so that was found just recently, very recently, so that's one thing I wanted to share with you, because you probably hadn't heard about that, and that's can give us an evidence of Sodom and Gomorrah. And then there's another one I want to talk about, and that is, we all know the story of when Moses in the Bible, he raised his staff and God parted the Red Sea, and the Israelites were being chased by the Egyptians and the chariots and the horsemen, and the Israelites escaped through the Red Sea, walking right through it. And we've seen that in the Ten Commandments in the movie. A lot of us have. Anyway, and then Moses withdrew his staff, and the waters crashed down and came and drowned all the Egyptians and covered up the horses and chariots. And so there was an expedition, and this was probably 15, 20 years ago. I remember I went to work one morning, and the TV was on in the break room. It's always usually on in the break room. It was before work, and I saw the news, and there was this story, and they had underwater footage that showed, camera footage showed these axles and spokes, wagon wheels with spokes and axles. Of course, inside, this was coral. Coral had formed around these wagon wheels and axles and spokes, and so inside was all disintegrated, the wood and the steel, but the coral remained in the shape of those, and they were just scattered along the bottom of the ocean, and there was lots and lots and lots of them. And so they had the footage of that. And there's only one thing that could have happened, is that there was actually those wagon wheels and axles at one time that allowed the coral to grow around it in that shape. But I saw that that morning. I went home, tried to find it on the news next few days and everything, could never find it again. It only came out one time, and that was it. You would have thought that that was something that everybody would like to see, right? Of course we would. And also in my high school oceanography textbook, there were 2 stories of 2 different men, and these events were separated by about 20 years apart. I remember one of those events took place in the early 1940s. But both accounts were of men who had been inside of a large fish, probably a whale, and they had been spit out, or they washed ashore, And in both cases, their skin was bleached white from the acids inside the whale. And so this really, verifies that happened to Jonah, and it's not, something that could not have happened, because it actually happened, and that was in my high school textbook oceanography class. And I wish I had that textbook today. That was back in 1970, 71 when I was reading that textbook. And then another one is a lot of us have seen on TV. There's you could buy VHS tapes back in the day. There was a lot of movies put out about Noah's Ark. There were expeditions. One of our astronauts went on one of those expeditions, but they were very dangerous expeditions to see Noah's Ark and Mount Ararat. And there were crevices that were covered with snow. On one of the expeditions, one of the members actually fell through one of those. There were bandits in those areas, so it's very dangerous. And I don't believe the government allows people to do that anymore, go on those expeditions. But they say that half of the ark is up high and the other half has fallen down below, way down below, and is covered in ice. And it's not even accessible most of the year. It's completely covered in ice. But throughout the centuries, I've read books too that tell of people who have gone up there and brought pieces of the ark, of the wood, back down. And a lot of times they would carve them into a cross or so. So those are just a few stories, evidences that you probably didn't hear of. And there's organizations like Answers in Genesis. They have wonderful information about Genesis, about creation. Check it out. And the story about Dr. Stephen Collins, I heard that from Eric Metaxas. He has a website, Eric Metaxas, METAXAS.com, ericmetaxas.com, and you can find out those things yourself. All right, good talking with you. Bye.